welcome along to another one of our past conversations. Great today to be joined by Robert Jennings. Robert is a former pupil of Clydebank High School. During the late 1990s, he became head boy of the school during his 6th year, and since then has become the curator of a project titled OldCHS, which aims to protect and preserve the heritage of Clydebank High School. I'm going to let Robert introduce himself, say hello, and perhaps maybe tell you a wee bit about OldCHS.
Hi, thanks Paul. I am Robert Jennings, and as you rightly say, I was a pupil between 1995 and 2001. And since 2009, I've run oldchs.co.uk, which is a website all about preserving and promoting the heritage of Clydebank High School. CHS is a place dear to my heart. It means a lot to me for many reasons, which we'll no doubt go and speak about during this interview. But through my work in OldCHS, got me in touch with PUPILS and the CHS History Department, and now we are able to massively widen the scope of what OldCHS had compared to what it has now, and definitely in comparison to where we're going in the future with regards to, as you say, preserving, first of all, the heritage of Clydebank High, but also actively promoting it with the pupils of yesteryear, the pupils of today, and hopefully the pupils of the future, along with the general wider public within Clydebank and the surrounding areas.
Robert, I've really been looking forward to this conversation because certainly over the last few years, this conversation aside, we've worked together basically in terms of looking at the history and the heritage of Clydebank High School. And I've been lucky enough to at points be involved with the work that OldCHS has been involved in, and I'm sure will continue to do. But maybe for the benefit of the people watching this, maybe tell them what OldCHS is and what your role in it all is.
Yeah, thanks. So OldCHS is primarily, predominantly an archive. The problem with archives is they generally sit in some dusty cupboard somewhere or on shelves in a library. They're rarely accessed and perhaps sometimes inaccessible to preserve them, understandably so for some things. oldchs.co.uk is the website, the public face, if you like, of the archive itself. And the idea is that Clydebank High School, throughout its history, has produced excellent pupils who have got excellent results and excellent exams, which are on to brilliant lives and have taken all the way around the world. And also people have stayed at home, like me. But that means that people who live today in the USA and Australia and Canada, predominantly, those 3 countries where quite a lot of former pupils have gone to, they can't easily pop down to the school or pop down to the Western Berkshire Archive to go and look at things. And so really with the advent of the internet and using that technology has helped us massively share our archive and share our heritage. And so this has been running since 2009. And originally it started off with a few photographs of that we managed to find through family contacts and through that kind of thing. Then we got a few more emailed in as the site kind of started up. We got a few people emailing them in. But the way technology marches on and the quality of information, the quality of scanning technology, that kind of thing, really helped us get better and better images as we went on. In fact, we still do have a couple of those original images as part of the archive, and it really does show the difference in quality between them. But word of mouth, primarily, is the kind of way that OldCHS promotes itself. But then we're lucky enough through the power of Twitter, which has created PastConversations. The power of Twitter kind of kicked in again, and we got in contact with PUPILS through some kind of mutual kind of contacts and following each other. And really what that suddenly showed was that you and the school, understandably, had an absolutely massive paper archive, which we've never been able to get access to or digitise or anything like that. So we made contact. I came into the school to meet with you, and we looked through it, and I was basically gobsmacked as to how much was actually there at the time, and to see how most of it seems to have survived relatively well. Of course, the problem with that is that it is an archive in a school, and schools kind of sometimes fall victim to fire, that kind of thing. So really, I was really concerned about trying to digitise this information so that A, we could move this around the world and let people see it, but B, if the worst were to happen, at least we've got some kind of copy rather than losing it completely. So that's kind of one of the projects we did with yourself, was kind of trying to digitise that. And there are still probably, as you know, Paul, literally probably a few thousand items which are still sitting, waiting to be digitised, preserved, and popped on. I think that the kind of longer term plan would be, once we've got the items digitised, that we then go to protect them professionally by passing them on to Western Berkshire Council's archive services, who have all the correct means of storing and cataloguing and just keeping them safe in the future. So that, as much as I like the classroom, Paul, a filing cabinet or a few filing cabinets in the classroom, perhaps for the longer term, isn't the best place for these items to be, especially when we can allow access via other means, be it old CHS or whatever. And so that we still have the originals sitting somewhere safe. We can always go back to them if we need to for whatever reason, but for day-to-day access, we can get it through old CHS. So that's kind of primary reason, or primary thing that old CHS does, is they can actively promote and preserve our heritage, which is long. If you consider, Paul, that Clydebank High started off as Clydebank School. The High came in later on, but the Clydebank School opened up in 1873. So actually that means that we're approaching the 150th anniversary as we record this. The anniversary will be in 2023, the 150th. And you can't say there's many schools that reach that milestone. There are some, but certainly not many. And actually, through some research I've been doing about Clydebank more widely, I think there's a pretty good case to be put that Clydebank High School is the oldest institution still in existence in Clydebank that was there when Clydebank started. In fact, way before Clydebank started, Clydebank wasn't recognised as a town as such, as a borough, until the 1880s. So if you consider that Clydebank High was there from 1873, something tells you something about the longevity of this institution, which has touched many lives. And to really to share that heritage all the way through from 1873 right up till now, and hopefully in the future as well, it will be something that is really helpful and useful. People look at the archive as something about a nostalgia trip, but also I think people look at it and it tells you a little bit about the social history of the town as well. When we hear about what the town was like, what the school was like at the time, it really does tell us a bit about the story of Clydebank more widely, and specifically about Clydebank High itself. So really that's probably the primary goal for old CHS, is to try and get that history put out there, but also we're putting it out there, but also trying to receive new history, new information in, and a new appreciation for the wider town as well.
Robert, you've spoken there about the importance to old CHS of preserving archive material as well as being able to promote it. And I just wondered, related to that, why, in your opinion, is it important to protect archive material? And associated with that, what are the actual challenges of protecting archive material?
Yeah, I think that actually probably the first point I'd make is going back to my first year in Clydebank High School. My history teacher then was a chap named with Dr. Watson, Dr. Carrick Watson, your predecessor at CHS. And one of the things that I remember from his class was talking about primary and secondary sources, which I'm sure is something you still cover in history to this day, ad nauseum probably, and I'm sure people are sick of hearing about it. But certainly I think it's really important is to get it from the horse's mouth, as it were. And what archives allow us to do is to actually listen to the voices, if you like, of the past, see their faces, see what the town was like, have a look at things through another person's eyes, because it's really easy if I was to sit here and write a book about Clydebank High just now, or Clydebank more widely. I'm looking at that through the prism of my own eyes. I need to hear those voices from the past to tell me what the town was like, what the school was like, and that kind of thing. In fact, probably one of my most prized possessions in the archive is a little book, this logbook of the school, which I'm holding here in my hand at the moment. And this book that I managed to get my hands on, thanks to yourself, Paul, covers the period from 1958 until 1972. And I'm going to, if you don't mind, just read a small extract from it, and perhaps just tells us a little bit about one of the dangers of preserving, or one of the difficulties in preserving archive material. But also, this is a primary source. This is written by somebody at the time. In fact, this is written by J.T. Robertson, who was the rector of Clydebank High School from 1968 to 1984. So he writes in this book, and it's towards the end of the book, at this point, the school log vanished in one of the many burglaries that occurred weekly at that point, the school having no alarm system. I did not, alas, miss the log for months. Then I fear I forgot about it entirely. Following the issue of the Scottish Circular number 39 entitled Logbooks in November 1976, I decided to summarise the years in a new log. But in 1981, this old log reappeared in a bag of rubbish. What follows is a summary of the events of 1973 to 1981. And I'm going to write that, but I think probably the most impressive thing, at least that I find interesting in here, is he's going to say that accompanying the log is a file containing the prize-giving reports from 1969 until 1984. For the historians of the future, that will be of more interest than this log. So I think for me, he's speaking directly to us now as we record this. He's speaking to us historians, looking at the subject itself. But I think at the same time, it also answers one of your other questions, Paul, about what's one of the difficulties of preserving an archive, and it's the fact that the majority of archival material is paper, is hard copy. And as we saw, this book somehow went missing for almost 10 years and reappeared in the bin bag. How it got there, we'll never know. But that's one of the difficulties, is that in a book which was written to celebrate the 125th anniversary of Clydebank High School back in 1998, Dr. Watson, who I mentioned earlier on, he wrote a small commemorative book about the anniversary. And in that is a copy of the first day, back in the 11th of August, 1873. I have no idea where that book is now. It must have existed back then, when he was making a copy of this book, but somehow between now and then, or then and now, it's gone missing. Is that in somebody's house? Like this logbook's in my house. Is it somewhere else? Has it been destroyed? We don't really know. And will we ever find it? I don't know. But suddenly all those years worth of history are gone. And actually one event was a fire that happened back in 1998. Fortunately, the majority of the school archive survived, because the wing that was affected in that major blaze was just round the corner from the history department, where the archive was kept at that time. So the majority of that survived the fire. As we said before, unfortunately, schools do suffer from fires every so often, and I would hate to think that something happened to our archive. But I think perhaps the biggest event that had an impact on our archive was the Clydebank Blitz, back in the 13th and 14th of March 1941, where that time we had two school buildings kind of running at the same time. We had a school building in Kilbride Road, and another one back to back with that on Miller Street. And there was the Kilbride Road building, at least, was pretty much demolished or destroyed through enemy action, and the Miller Street building was badly damaged. That also meant, though, that unfortunately the archive material from 1873 until 1941, I have found pretty much almost zero history from that time. And that's a shame but I suppose that reflects in a nice way almost. That's part of the town's history being reflected in the school's history. The fact that the town was so badly damaged. So I think that's probably some of the difficulties with it. But the reason we should promote archive material and certainly preserve it is that we're hearing the voices of the people of the past. And we can't produce the secondary documentation, the secondary sources, without having the primary sources in the first place. Otherwise, it's basically guesswork as to what's actually going on at the time. And who knows what people find interesting in the future. Mr. Robertson wrote in the book that I wouldn't find that book interesting. Beyond 40 odd years later, I'm sitting here absolutely loving it. I mean, I read that particular paragraph. It had a profound impact on me. And I felt like he was speaking to me. So I think through all the photographs and all the items, that kind of thing, they all tell a story. I think that's what history is. It's telling a story of our shared past. But for me, when it comes to photographs, the written word to me is probably the most important thing. photographs are nice, and we see old buildings and we see classes, but unfortunately a lot of our archive doesn't have names attached to those photographs. And I would love to have names on that. And in fact, I was fortunate to find in the archive a photo album from 1968, which had no names for them whatsoever. But through putting it on the website, probably a good number of those photographs now have names attached to them, because it's of a time when the people who are in these photographs are still here with us, thankfully. And literally every day, I'm getting some new name coming through to put on the website. And in fact, so much so it's quite difficult to keep track of all this and keep up to date with it, along with a day job and a family, and that kind of thing. So yeah, but I think along with that logbook, which is probably the most important, another one that really touched me finally, and I'll stop here, Paul, in a moment, was the school cap that you received in the school, dating back to around the 1920s. One of the kind of old school caps, and just to think that was on a pupil's head back in the 1920s, and has survived, has followed them around the world. I think it came from abroad, if I'm right, and it has suddenly returned back from where it came from. That's another item of the archive. That's very difficult to put on a website. It's not a written word or a photograph, but we can sort of take photographs of it and have it preserved properly in the Western Bartonshire Archive eventually. But just to have that tangible thing that we can hold on to, and it perhaps tells a story to today's pupils about what uniforms were like back in the day, wearing short trousers, blazers, headgear, all in the school colours at the time of chocolate and gold. So all these different items really should be preserved, because what are we without our history?
Just finally, Robert, before we finish our conversation, you obviously are a former pupil of Clydebank High School. You're a former head boy of the school. What advice then would you give to young people today who are studying in the school?
I think number one is be absolutely 100% proud of your school, proud of your part that you play in the school. You are one little thread in a wide tapestry of history of that particular institution and of your town. Be absolutely positive if you can be, and yet everybody will have their hard times and their down times. The first little period in school for me wasn't brilliant, but as the years kind of rolled on by, things got better. I began to love it. I met people who are still part of my life to this day, my friends, and that kind of thing. Certainly I would say from my own, if I could go back and tell Robert something from the past, is enjoy your time at school. Soak it in, and just take a few moments every so often just to actually reflect there and then as to what's going on around about you and what it's like to be a pupil at the school. Because I remember people saying this to me, and you would have heard it before, but it'll soon be over. It's way quicker than you ever thought before. Soak it in. My biggest regret for me was I left Clydebank High at the beginning of my study leave to go and take up work. I come back and did my exams whilst I was working, but that effectively meant I left school on the Friday and started work on the Monday, literally. And I didn't really have that kind of wind down time or that time to really sit and pause and reflect as to the fact that chapter had just moved on. And that's something I do regret, that my friends often speak about, that they did have that time. Just take some time and look around you and soak it in, because you won't be there forever. You've got life to go into. And when it comes to life, generally speaking from one experience as well, just find something that interests you. There'd be nothing worse than stuck in some humdrum area that you don't have any interest in whatsoever. So find something that interests you. It might have nothing to do with the qualification you got at school or the qualification you go and do at university or whatever it happens to be. But just in life, generally speaking, try and find something that interests you and actually you feel like you'll never work again and you'll love every day.